Your next chance to win $1,000 in the keyword for cash is coming up in just about 20 minutes at 9:05. Just listen for the keyword, then dial **win. If you're the randomly selected nationwide entrant and you know the keyword, you could win $1,000.
All right, join us right now, a guy who has a lot of postseason experience. Great pitcher during his day. Now he's with the MLB Network and Fox Sports 1. It's John Smoltz. What's up, John?
Good morning.
John,
So-
do you know how many innings you pitched just in the postseason for your career?
I believe it's at least 200.
209.
Yeah.
That's a full season, basically a full season just in playoff games.
Yeah, that was when you look back, it was something pretty amazing. Take it for granted how many times we were able to go, but yeah, that full season with little rest in between took its toll.
Oh, I bet.
What was it like during your first inning, if you can remember that? Because we're all speculating. We're here in D.C. talking about Strasburg, who, of course, was shut down in 2012 during the playoff run. But what's the first inning like?
Well, it's ironic. We were able to chase down some teams in '91, right? So we were playing a lot of games late that we had to win, and I can remember every single pitch that I seemed to throw against Houston in the last game of the regular season for me that got us in the playoffs. And then, of course, in Pittsburgh, against Pittsburgh, I remember getting a wake-up call real early. Literally, I was in the training room talking about, the game and everything, about all these different start times. And I got a call from a manager saying, "Where are you? The game starts in like 11 minutes." And I had got the wrong start time in my mind. So I had to race down there and literally was telling myself, well, I'll be ready. They're not going to tell me when the game's going to start. I'll be ready when I'm going to be ready. Gave up, I think, a leadoff home run for a nice wake-up call, and then ended up pitching a decent ball game. But the reality of the playoffs is it's totally different. I don't care what anyone tells you. You've seen these other teams play already. Can the guys that haven't been there slow the game down as close to a regular season game as possible and enjoy the moment? And I'll tell you, a lot of guys have that out-of-body experience, and it takes them a while to get used to the atmosphere, the crowd. To put it in simplistic form, a walk's a rally, 2 outs, a runner-on's a rally. The crowd's into every single pitch. The hitters don't give away an at-bat. Everyone's amped up. The guys are more aggressive. And the theory that works is the guy that takes the walk, that passes the baton on, that does the little things in these type games really separates themselves from the rest, because guys get aggressive and swing a little bit more than they would, and pitchers tend to get more amped up. So I love this moment. I love watching guys react to this moment, and I think you're going to see what everyone's been waiting for a long time in Steven Strasburg. To your point, here we go.
John, how would you react physiologically during a playoff game? Could you tell, would your hands get clammy? Would your heartbeat increase? What would happen to you when you would step out on the mound that's different than the regular season?
Well, for me, I loved it. I loved the moment ever since I was a kid. I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be on that mound. I wanted to pitch the seventh game. I felt like I was in a tunnel. Here's the reality of it. Every inning you pitch is like 2 innings of a regular season game. At least it was for me. So the effort level and the concentration and all that, you're going to be more worn out. You're going to be more physically, probably mentally exhausted. But for a guy like Steven Strasburg, and his stuff will play so well if he's able to get to that point. And to come full circle, I had 14 years, and you mentioned 200 and some innings of the postseason. My last start, which ended up being my last game for the St. Louis Cardinals when we were down 2-0 against the Dodgers, I literally could not swallow, could not spit. I was the first time in my life I felt what I guess other people felt, not in my stomach. I guess my whole movie was playing in my head like, this is it. And it was weird, and it was uncomfortable. And I then appreciated what maybe other people could feel, because I had been through so much of that where it was just kind of second nature.
Why is it so difficult, John? And you could relate to this because you were on so many great Braves teams, and yet you guys still only won one world championship, and that's amazing. But still, I'm sure you thought we were good enough to win more. And the Nats, obviously they were great in 2012, weren't able to close that first round game out. This year, a lot of people, saying they have the best chance to win, and yet when you look at the numbers, teams that go into the playoffs with momentum or teams that have the best records, they often don't win. I mean, more often than not, don't win at all. Why is it so difficult to translate the regular season success into postseason success?
Yeah, it's interesting. 1995 was the last team, I believe, in the National League that had the best record that won the World Championship, which was our team. I have a belief that it's nothing like the regular season. What I mean by that is Washington has the best five-man rotation in baseball, okay? So no one would argue that per se over 162 games. The problem is when you get to the postseason, you have too many off days. So you don't need five, and most teams don't even need four. So in a best-of-5 series, which is the scariest series, in the off days that are created there, you only need two hot pitchers. So you run up against two pitchers, even though you've got the best chances to win a series over long haul, it doesn't come into play. My theory and I've always believed that less off days, more, we play baseball 162 games in 180 days. You can win a 7-game series in 11 days, therefore you can use 3 pitchers.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that has to do with the overall depth and strength of a team over 162 doesn't play out in a best-of-5. It's a condensed series.
That's why the Dodgers are so scary with Kershaw and Greinke.
Exactly. And where their hiccup comes in is if they don't get what they need out of the first two guys. Same thing with Detroit. Detroit has less players that they count on, but the most important has to come out of those less players, where, let's say, Baltimore has more players to pull from. And that's the interesting dynamic of that series, to see if the stars of Detroit can come through.
Now, that being said, kind of handicap this Nats-Giants series in your mind. Obviously, the Giants have a ton of experience. Bumgarner, who can't go until Game 3, he's got World Series experience. Posey's legit. I mean, but on paper, catcher is probably the only position you would take Giants over Nats. So how do you handicap this? What's the X factor in your eyes?
Well, the X factor for me is going to be exactly what we talked about. You've got, I'll use this analogy, you got maybe a 1960 Ford Mustang on the mound going for San Francisco. You're going to hear the muffler, you're going to hear the guy revving the engines, and then you got this quiet power of Steven Strasburg. And can that young pitching staff, which is on a great roll, just continue what they were doing and not be fazed by anything of the expectation? And I think the Nats have everything you need to win the World Series. Matter of fact, beginning of the year, before we went to Australia, I had the Nats playing the Tigers in the World Series. I don't know if that's how it's going to play out, but a first-year manager, Matt Williams, did a nice job getting the identity of the player. You got a couple superstars, and there's coming out, Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg. Everyone's been waiting for it, and I think it makes for a great storyline. I think it makes for a great scenario where you look at the Nats, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. This is something that this city can be looking forward to for quite some time, and I just think they have all the pieces. You got pitching versus pedigree, basically. Pedigree of the Giants, 2 world championships, maybe not the most prototypical, didn't see it coming, in 2010, 2012. They have those different intangibles that are not going to make them be afraid of any moment or any situation or anything that comes at their way. So that's why this is a classic kind of the Giants are where the Nationals want to go, and we'll see if the Nationals can get there.
How do you think Matt Williams matches up with Bochy in terms of decision-making, especially late in games?
Well, in a series, a lot different, obviously, than just elimination games. And we've seen what San Francisco's been able to do. I think they've won their last 7 elimination games, which is pretty incredible. Bochy just has this quiet calm. I don't know if he gets nervous. I don't know if he just has the sense that their team, embodies his ability to stay calm. So for Matt Williams, this will be a neat experience. I don't care how much you surround yourself with all that you've done as a player. This is a unique experience of which, managing a bullpen and managing the moment is it really is interesting for managers. You saw what happened in the elimination game for each team's when they played the wild card game. That's a nightmare, by the way, for managers. But this will be closer to the vest. He'll be able to do the things that they did down the stretch. And I always think the intrigue is when you've had a season locked up for quite some time, you have the 4 off days, and then you just can't wait to start playing. And then you hope you can play that game like you were playing, about a month or about 2 weeks ago when everything was at its peak.
That's legendary pitcher John Smoltz. Want to thank you again for the time. John's going to be calling the Nationals and Giants series on Fox Sports 1 and MLB Network with Matt Vasgersian. Today and tomorrow's games are on Fox Sports 1. Monday's Game 3 exclusively on MLB Network. Go to findmlbnetwork.com for your local listings. John, thanks so much.
Have fun out there.
All right, guys, I will. I'm
All
looking
right,
forward to it.
All right, buddy. See you.
Dude, love talking to him.
Yeah, he gave some great
so
insight.
good.
He's
Yep.
awesome. John Smoltz, awesome pitcher, awesome broadcaster.
Probably should be a Hall of Famer. He doesn't have the win total, but remember, he closed. And when he was a closer, he was so good.
Fantastic.
I've heard he's a decent golfer, too. He
Oh.
can stripe it.
He's a scratcher.
Yes.
All right, phone number's 800-636-1067. Been talking about the Nationals all morning. Of course, first pitch, 3:07. You can listen to Charlie Slows at 2:30 right here on The Fan. He'll join us at 9:25. Do they win game one? We want to hear from you. 800-636-1067. Talking Nationals on The Fan.
Sports Radio.